Hi, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video I've talked about a few things that are coming up here at Truly Holistic, as well as just some regular questions I get, and we can talk about those particular topics in this video in a bit more depth. Um, a lot of it's about this whole consciousness or understanding of a reality, okay, and a few kind of theories that I feel like don't make any sense anymore, and a few new theories make a lot more sense to me in regards to energy healing. Now, this whole thing about this loop or loosh trap, and you would have seen videos that I've done before in regards to this energy that the manipulators feed on, which is called loosh, a fear, a low dimensional, low vibrational energy that we actually make. We get manipulated at an energetic level to make it. So therefore they can be feared, essentially, these reptilian beings and some of these other demon beings, let's say, the archons and so on. And the key, to a lot of what I'm finding at the core of it, most, or essentially all health problems, is loosh always comes up. Somebody will come with a problem, whether it's an infection or whether it's arthritis, it could be a number of things. There's always layers to a problem, and one of the big layers that I quite often have to clear out last before we move on and work on another area is loosh. Okay, so I'm finding that really the pivotal thing that is always present in all problems is a low vibrational energy, which is called loosh, this fear energy. And we have a lot more control in regards to this fear or the loosh than we think we do if we understand this whole loop or trap. And this trap is all about the fact that we are getting manipulated at an energetic level, okay? Our law of attraction can get manipulated. Our manifestation self can get manipulated. Our dharma, our sole purpose, because I think all of us are looking for happiness, right? And really, our life should be full of happiness, should be full of love energy. But sadly, what I see out in the world is there's a lot of torture, there's a lot of suffering in the world, okay? And things don't just happen, things happen for a reason, okay? This whole thing about bad luck. Well, bad luck has been manifested to happen, which we think is bad luck. And if we're being thrown challenges in our life and we don't know how to respond to them very well, quite often, because we're such a diverse being, a human being, in regards to emotions, then instead of creating this high vibration within ourselves by having these high vibrational emotions and thoughts of love and laughter, these challenges cause us to use low vibrational emotions, such as envy, such as anger, such as fear, all these sorts of things. And because we respond in that way, we give off an emotion that's low vibrational, we create this loosh, okay? These beings don't create loosh themselves, they manipulate us to manipulate our emotional response to create loosh for them. And we end up being a battery source, an energy source to them, okay? So we need to understand that this loop or this trap in place so we can avoid it as much as possible. Because of course we have challenges in our lives, but what makes those not such apparent in your life, and also the manifestation of what you really want in your life, comes down to your response to those challenges. And if you can actually step away from that trap and avoid the trap as much as possible, you realize that a lot of things will start to manifest in your life a lot more smoothly. And the things that you want in your life will start happening for you. Okay? But if you stay within that loop, all of a sudden you can become a bit of a victim, and then all of a sudden we get trapped in that cycle, that vicious cycle, when we instead of realizing this trap and actually trying to escape it, we become one of the trap or one of the loop, and then it's very hard for us to escape from it. Okay, and that's essentially what humanity here is for. Okay, and that's the basis of all health problems. So it's a great thing to start focusing on in regards to your life if you really want to find what your Dharma is. Okay, and when you think about if your Dharma, your soul purpose or your source purpose is being manipulated, because that's all we want certainty, don't we? And if there's uncertainty in your life, that leads to anxiety, and then anxiety leads to fear, and fear is loosh. Okay, and quite often a lot of us are looking too far ahead. Life is so busy, isn't it? And we have all these distractions put in our life for a reason, and it's put in there for a reason because it creates us to give off these low emotional vibrations which create loosh for the manipulators, the manipulators that control this world we currently live in, this matrix world that we live in, what we think is real life or reality. So we need to take our power back. We need to take our power back. And so if we can, this whole thing about our Dharma, again, is the uncertainty. And if we, quite a lot of the times we're uncertain because we're looking too far ahead and thinking, oh, this is coming up, this may happen, all the possibilities of what could go wrong. We hear it about this whole thing about the glass being half empty or the glass being half full. Okay, it's perception, isn't it? It's a perception of that thing that's in front of you. Okay, and we'll talk a bit more about perception. What I've found really is the perception center of humanity. But it's this whole idea again of being present, isn't it? When we're present and just focusing on what we have here and now, because really there's no future and past, there's just present, 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 continually present. And it's more of a perception of realizing that we are just in the present. We just focus on that alone, okay? And when we can focus on that alone, there's a lot more certainty compared to uncertainty. And when we have more certainty, we are more content. And then when we're more content, we can have more love, okay? And we can give more love. We can show more love to ourselves, more importantly. Where if we're uncertain, then when we're uncertain, fear is the byproduct of that. Okay. Now, in regards to perception, what I've found is the perception center of us is the central nervous system. And funnily enough, the central nervous system gets manipulated regularly with clients, and I find that. And why they know the central nervous system is a good one to manipulate is because it really distorts our perception. Okay, people that don't have their central nervous system manipulated, and loved ones around this particular person that's having trouble, can see for what it is, but the person that's got a distorted perception cannot. Okay, and things are just so much more difficult. Okay, things that should be simple and being able to be in the present, they can't. They're always thinking about, oh, this could be wrong, this could be going on, this could be going on. Their mind races. They can't stay within the present. There's no certainty, there's only uncertainty. So what we do here at Truly Holistic, we go into the central nervous system, which is your perception center. We clear it out. We remove everything that's distorting it. It could be a form of frequency that's rupturing and distorting it. Could be an entity, could be a negative energy of some sort. We all of a sudden remove all that out. We connect it back to where it needs to be connected to, and then you can all of a sudden have a bit more of a clear mind. Okay, perception changes. Also, this matrix world that we live in distorts perception on a day-to-day basis. Okay, through programming. And if you want to check out about programming, I've got videos also on this channel in regards to programming. From the day that we're born to the day we die is essentially a program. Okay, because we are a computer, and whatever we're programmed with ends up becoming us, when really it's not us. Okay, we don't get the chance to realize who we really are because we've just been branded by so many labels. And it's all about removing all the programming to find out really who we are and why are we here? The big questions that keep us content instead of uncertain. Okay, now another thing I want to talk about is that the whole reality of the situation is that in regards to current mainstream medicine, mainstream ways of treating are essentially physical modalities. They look at us as a physical being, what we can see. Okay. Now, what we've got to realize here is that when we are currently having a human experience in this human vehicle, let's say, we are very limited because we're normally multi-dimensional beings. Okay. Our soul, our source is really who we are. It's our mortal self. We're multi-dimensional. Okay, we still have capabilities while we are in this vehicle, but what really dumbs us down is this programming that occurs that we aren't powerful, when really we are. Okay, and the problem with these physical modalities in regards to healing is that while we're in this body, what we can perceive as solid and physical, what we can see with our eyes, is a very limited spectrum of light, okay, light frequency. It's only a fraction of 0.005%, okay? So, when you take that into account, our medical system, our ways of healing, if we're just treating ourselves as a physical being, we're only looking at a fraction of 0.005%, okay? And sadly, that's why we see so many people suffering still today, because a lot of these modalities are not helping people. Okay? And am I saying to people out there, what I do is the only thing? Of course not. What I'm saying is we need to be very open-minded in regards to what a problem could be and how to deal with it, and how to treat it, and how to remove the problem, not removing the symptoms, removing the core problem, because we need to understand that we are more than just a physical body. Okay, we are energy. So therefore, energy medicine has to come into the picture in regards to treating a health problem. Because when we go into energy medicine, we're working with frequency. Okay, and we're working with the rest of that. What's left over from after the 0.005%, that's majority of it, is all to do with a frequency that our eyes can't see and can't perceive as solid. Okay, and currently a lot of what happens within our mainstream medical paradigm is that if we have a scan and we can't see something's wrong, then there's nothing wrong. And that is wrong, isn't it? To think that way. Because you're listening to the client or the patient and they're saying, I'm in pain, I'm suffering, I have this wrong with me, I have this wrong with me. But just because a scan doesn't shows that there's nothing they can see that is wrong, how can we go to that client, that patient, and say, no, there's nothing wrong with you, go home, because we've looked at the scan, we've looked at the blood test, everything's coming back normal. How often do we hear that? I'm pretty sure everyone's been through that, or has someone that has been through that process, going through a mainstream model of healthcare when they are suffering. But every blood test, every test they've done, every scan they've done, every x-ray is showing nothing's wrong with them, when clearly there's something else. Now, going back to perception, okay, and going back to our consciousness and this whole LOOSH loop, whole LOOSH cycle that's causing so much harm with us. It really puts us in a state of thinking too much, doesn't it? If we're thinking too much, quite often it's all about things that are in the uncertain, right? Which leads to anxiety and leads to fear. It's not being in the present. And quite often we bypass our gut feeling, or what's known as heart-mind, okay? And I feel like really the intelligence is our heart, not up here. And we think too much, we don't feel enough, okay? And I think, again, when we're present, we do feel more, and when we're in our uncertain, when we're getting too ahead of ourselves, and being manipulated, we think too much. And quite often, the result of thinking too much is this loosh energy. Okay, and then when we feel more, then all of a sudden love becomes more apparent. It's more high vibrational compared to thinking too much. So one thing I must say about the matrix world, I get questions about this, people wanting to escape the matrix world and how I escape. It's not that easy. Currently we're in an ascension process where there's going to be a solar flash which is going to make a change in the sun, which is going to allow us to become not governed anymore by the manipulators, okay, of this world, the controllers of this world. Currently we're, the ceiling is the 7th dimension at the moment, but more dimensions are going to open up to us as we go through this ascension process. But we need to know that we are going to be manipulated to a certain degree while we're still in this matrix world, because the controllers are the reptilians. And one big thing about staying out of their control is standing away and getting out of that loop, okay, that loosh trap, that loosh loop. Understanding what this world has really been created for, and what is our role. And currently our role within this matrix world is that we are a battery, we are an energy source, just like the Matrix movie documented, okay, and that Matrix movie is fantastic. A lot of those sci-fi movies are really, there's a lot of truth within those movies. Please watch them and please study them with great detail. They're very good movies because they're giving you drips of disclosure within them. And obviously, while this ascension process continues, the solar flash event happens, then it's going to enable us to be freed from this matrix world and the manipulators that control it. But we do need to take on responsibility and understand this loosh loop or circuit, and we need to remove ourselves from it and realize the power of our emotions. How many times we hear it that when it comes to core issues of core disease, it comes back to emotions, and so true, so true. Depending on what emotion we use could mean us getting a disease or getting unwell, compared to being high vibrational all the time and not being in a disease state. That's how effective our emotions and our state of mind are. Okay? As I say, while in the matrix world, we are going to be manipulated to a certain degree, but we can have control in our own destiny in regards to the emotions we give off. Because if we're going to give bad emotions, we're going to respond to these challenges in a bad way. Because remember, whether it's a bad experience or a good experience, it's an experience, okay? That's all it is, it's experience, okay? And if we respond to that in a bad way, then that could affect us in a really prolonged time period for a long time and cause an illness. But if we respond in a much better way and look at experience, bad and good, as just being part of the experience, okay? And this is also getting into the thing that there's no normal and abnormal. Okay, and it's one of the worst words in our language that we've ever created, was this whole idea of normal and abnormal. Okay, and this is this whole programming concept again, since the day we're born to we die, is that especially in our first years of age, as a child, we get books, we read books and stuff, and what's perceived in the books is, say, we'll give the example of healthcare. How often did many people read books about acupuncture, like animated books where, let's say, Spot or the dog goes and sees an acupuncturist or herbalist? No, he didn't. It was always a doctor, wasn't it? Why is that? Because that programming at that point of time makes you, as an adult, go straight to a doctor when you're unwell. And if anybody challenges that and says, no, you should go to an acupuncturist, you should go to a herbalist, go to an energy practitioner, then quite often they'll say, well, there's no scientific backing of that. That's too out there. That's unusual. That's crazy talk. That's not normal. Okay, so you can see where I'm going with this, and this goes over not just healthcare but many facets of life, where this programming creates us to be very closed-minded, and we don't realize that we're being programmed. And this whole idea that they're trying to say that we're free, well, as David Icke says, we would go to school and then we have to go and get a degree to have a job. We need to buy a house and have been into debt, and you need to have a job to pay off the debt. You have to pay off your fees from university and stuff like that. Where is the freedom? Where is the freedom? Even people where they've got to go and study, or kids going to school, they've got to be vaccinated. And in quite a lot of places, if they don't get vaccinated, they're not allowed to go to that school. Well, where is the freedom of choice here? Okay, and there's a number of things in regards to, I'm not going to get into the vaccine argument, but it's more about the freedom of choice, including fluoride in the water supply. I don't care whether you're pro or con fluoride. It's more, what it comes down to is the freedom of choice. Okay, if you put fluoride in all the water supply, we need to drink water. We're made up of water. We need that more than anything. Any food, we need more water. Water. Then if you put fluoride in the water, well, where's the choice? Where's the freedom of choice? There's no choice. But if you give people the choice of taking a fluoride supplement and keep fluoride out of the water, then there's choice for both parties, whether they're in favor of fluoride or they're against it. And that's what I'm all about here, is this freedom of choice thing. We don't have it. Majority of areas we don't have it. But saying that, we do have freedom of choice of realizing the reality of humanity's existence, of this loose loop, and stepping out of it and not giving the manipulators the energy of what they're trying to get from us. Okay, so that is very empowering. So I think that's essentially all the things I wanted to talk about in this video. Please post anything below, any questions, or what you think about a lot of these topics I've talked about in this video. Another thing I'm going to add to you here at Truly Holistic, which I'm really gouging into at the moment, is this whole theory about infections. The big fear of infections is at the moment is, for a long time, is you catch an infection. Airborne, waterborne, bloodborne infections. Now, when I'm clearing infections, because remember, every living thing is just vibration. So using energy tools such as the chestahedron here, we're just intending to cancel out that vibration of the infection, whether it's a virus, parasite, whatever. Now, when I'm dealing with infections, it's always coupled up with negative energy and quite often entity. That area of the body is usually in the first dimension or second dimension, which is very low vibrational. So I don't think, initially I really thought it was an infection, and then that would lower the vibration and all the entities jump on board. But I think it's the other way around now. I think the entity-driven infections. I don't think it's all this thing about catching an infection. I really think entities use the power of intention, and they intend an infection to be in that area to cause a problem within you. And what happens when you get an infection? You feel unwell. Your emotions aren't in a great state of mind. You create fear. You create loosh. And remember, coming back to that loop again, you're going to hear me saying that word. That is the whole goal, is trying to get this fear energy and create you as an energy source. So I think that has a lot more validity to it than this whole catching an infection. Because this whole catching an infection, again, that pushes people to get the vaccines and those sorts of things, because you could catch it any time. Again, it's very fear-based information. So, and as I said in other videos, if it's fear-based, it's usually programmed. If it's not fear-based, then you know that you're getting the real thing, and love's prevalent in regards to it. So anyway, I'll stop ranting now. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing to my channel as well and following me. Again, please share this information with as many people as possible. Don't be afraid to feel like you're crazy or you're abnormal. Believe me, if you're normal, you're the crazy one. You want to feel empowered to be crazy and a little bit unusual. Okay, thanks. Bye.